Hello, my name is Bill Stewart. Some of you know me as Dr. Bill, and I do all of the training here with General RV. My purpose and intent today is to go over the actual winterization of the tankless water heaters. I want to make sure that everybody fully understands how to winterize a tankless water heater. They're a little bit different than your standard water heaters in winterizing procedure. So I want to make sure that everybody understands exactly how to go through that. First thing that I want to go through is the actual winterizing, the pink stuff that we are going to be using. It's potable RV antifreeze that we use to winterize the coaches. On this, you'll notice that it has a 50-degree below zero burst point, which I want to explain a little bit about a burst point. Burst point was actually created back in the 1930s by the plumbing industry at that particular time. And what that does, it was actually designed and designated for copper piping and plumbing at that particular time to see how good antifreeze was good too. So along the lines of that, we don't use copper in RVs anymore. So the 50 below zero burst point is a little bit more forgiving now than what it used to be. One of the things I want to let everybody know, when they use the RV antifreeze, the pink stuff as we call it, the potable RV antifreeze, this is actually, it will start to gel right around 13 degrees above zero. And nothing to be concerned about. It will not freeze until it actually hits down to around the 50 below zero, just so that everybody knows and understands that. One of the problems, and what I want to go through next with you, is when we're running the RV antifreeze through the lines and stuff like that, normally, and I've done winterizations myself, that we'll go through and we'll see it, that it'll be pink stuff starting to come out, okay? And then we turn off the faucets, turn off the showers, the toilets, and all that stuff like that. But not 100% sure how good that is. If you blew out the lines, or if it still had water in the lines, you may get this mixed with regular water. So what exactly is your bursting point? So in order to find out exactly what that is, what I've done is I have this is called a refractometer. The refractometer actually takes, if you take a small dot of the potable antifreeze and put it on this little ledge here, and you close it down, you look at it up to the light. At that point, you look all the way to the right side, and it'll tell you what your burst point is. So now we know exactly what it's good to. I was down at one of the stores, and the service manager there said, "Hey, look, this has pink stuff coming out of it." I said, "Well, how good is it?" He said, "I don't know." Okay, so with that, we need to know exactly how good they are. How good it's good too. How good is good? So that's one of the reasons, and I have 2 of these being sent out to every one of the stores so that you will have one of these. Your service managers will have these, and I need them to be used. Yes, I need them used down in Tampa and down in the Florida stores at Jacksonville, because of the simple fact that a lot of those units, whether they're being transferred up to us or if they're being, the customers are coming back north, magically, some parts around the Mason-Dixon line, freezing starts, and at that point, you have possible damage. So yes, you do need to know how to do this, and it has to be done for all of our stores. With that being said, I want to go around to the back side of these and explain some of the features on the back side of them. One of the big problems that we have is the RV bypasses that they use for the freshwater system going to the water heaters. All of these water heaters, this particular one, the Truma water heater, is the only water heater, the instant water heaters, that it should have a bypass on the system. The rest of the water heaters, the Girard, the Dometic Atwood, and the Suburban water heaters should not have a bypass on it. If they do have a bypass on them, do not close the bypass on those. Those units need to have antifreeze, a potable antifreeze going through each one of those systems. So I want to explain to you a little bit about the bypass system so that everybody understands these. Most of them have a 3-valve system on it. And I try to relate this to everyone in a manner that they'll remember. I'm not trying to offend anybody or anything like that. But with that, I always use the middle child syndrome. If any of you have a middle child or know a middle child, they're just a little bit different than the other two. Whether it's good or bad. If you're a middle child, that might be better. If you're not, you can absolutely know the difference between them. But with this valve system, same exact thing. Keep that in mind. The top and the bottom are always going to be the same. The middle one, the middle child, the middle valve is always going to be different. So with that being said, cold water comes in through the bottom. The valve here now, as it's shown, is open, goes into the water heater, comes up, out, and comes out as hot water and goes to your system. Now, as it stands and as you're looking at it, this valve is in the wrong position because that's open, this is open, and that one's open. So for a normal operating procedure, this valve here needs to be closed. Otherwise, what ends up happening is cold water will come in here, it'll head both ways, it'll go and heat the water, come out hot, but your cold water is now mixing with the hot water. So what will end up happening is you'll get a nice warm shower for a couple minutes, a couple seconds, usually about 10 seconds, and then all of a sudden it'll turn cold. So, and we get a lot of phone calls in the springtime about this, and that's one of the reasons why I want you to know, how this operates. So always make sure that they're all just a little bit different. This is for normal operating procedures. For the winterizing purpose of it, this is going to be closed so that the cold water, when it comes in, is stopped here, goes down, can't go any further there. It has to go up, and this here then is also closed so that when you open this valve, it doesn't come up and go back into the water heater. Okay, so this being bypassed, it now comes in here, can't go there, has to go here, can't go there, and heads back that way. So now it is bypassed, or in the bypass mode. A couple other things that I want to let you know on the Truma water heater when I get around to the other side of what else you need to do after you bypass it. But the Truma water heater is the only water heater like this that should have a bypass on it. The Truma Combi, which is a water heater and furnace combination, has a series of 3 valves, and what I really need you to do on that particular model is to definitely go in and take a look at the owner's manual, follow that step by step. There's a series of 3 valves that have to be turned in a certain position in order of that. So make sure that you follow that in the owner's manual step by step. You do not want to run the potable antifreeze through the Truma Combi because that goes into the furnace unit and also which is part of the water heating system, and it will do damage to the inside. With that being said, I want to make sure that everybody sees all of the units on the back are somewhat similar. They have a cold water inlet. This, so that everyone knows, this was set up for testing purposes. This did not come from the factory like that. Okay, once again, cold water inlet, hot water outlet, hot, and hot. Pretty much all the same on the back side of it, with the exception of, possibly the LP lines which come in and where they go into operate them. One of the things that I wanted to let everybody know, and the water systems, when these actually do break, they're very, very, very expensive, and or most of the time you just have to replace the units. The Truma water heater, if it does break, you can send this unit back to Truma, which in one of the quizzes that I sent out, it gave you the phone number and the contact person in there, so please refer back to that. Those are always available, by the way. But you can send this back to them. They will refurbish that and send it back to you. When they refurbish it from a frost or freezing damage, it then comes back with a 1-year warranty on it. So just keep that in mind. Truma will not sell us parts for the inside of their units, which is understandably so, because they want them back and they want to make sure that they are 100% ready to go. With that being said, we'll head around back to the front side of it and explain to you, the features and how to continue to winterize, the units that are sitting here with us. Okay, one of the things I do want you to notice on these are all units that have cracked due to winterization, improper winterization procedures. So I want to make sure that everybody sees why this happens, how it happens, so that it doesn't happen again. Okay, first of all, the Truma. Going through this, after you do the bypass in the back of it, they have a little flip lever here. You lift this up, pull this yellow tab down, and at that point, this comes out of the inside. Okay, on this particular one, it didn't come out because it cracked right up in the inside area up in here, which happens. So, because there still is water in here, even though you have the bypass on, it may drain and it may sit down in the bottom of this accumulator tank. When it accumulates in that tank there and sits there, even though you have it open and you put this back in, it will start to freeze around the edges and it'll break this little tab out. Okay? There is nothing you can do with that other than replace the accumulator tank, and like I said before, this has to be sent back to Truma to have it repaired. So what I'm recommending is, once this comes out, okay, push the lever back up and take this apparatus here and stick it up on the inside here. Leave that out because there is water that will get back down on the inside of it, but with that out, any water, anything like that will come out. If it does freeze, it'll come out through the drain. So I want to make sure everyone knows, do not put this back in, because we have had mass quantities of them that break. So make sure that you do not put these back in. On the Girard unit, and the other thing that I want to point out that these have been somewhat scavengered, and there's a big electrical board that goes on the front of this, and there's all kinds of other goodies that go onto this, okay? Because once they're bad, and they are, not worth anything at that particular point. We can get parts for these to repair the internal components, but a lot of times if you need the tank or one of the valves goes bad, it's more costly to replace the tank than it is the unit itself. On the Girard unit, this unit here has to have the RV antifreeze, potable antifreeze go through this system. No ifs, ands, or buts. A lot of times we found out that the Girard unit and some of the Atwood units that were coming through from the manufacturer, they actually had bypasses on the back of them, okay? And the reasoning behind that was that as it's going down the assembly line, they weren't sure exactly which water heater they were going to install, whether it was going to be, the on-demand, or if it was going to be a standard water heater. And the other part of it too is they probably didn't realize that you did not need it, and it was in a standard print, and a standard print going down the assembly line is a standard print, has to have it. So if you see a bypass on any of these other three units, they need to be in the open position, okay? So in normal operating position, so that your antifreeze will go through these. The other problem with that is all of these units operate off of 45 psi water pressure that goes through these systems. Sometimes the bypass system will actually slow down the water to a certain point, and it makes them act a little bit funny, and they don't function the way they probably should. So if you see one on there, make sure that it's in the open position. And in fact, a lot of the manufacturers now have said that if you have a bypass on there, remove it, because it's restricting flow. Once again, the Atwood or Dometic model, normally what will happen on these is if you don't winterize it properly, this little red valve in here will crack, and you can replace that, which that needs to be replaced, and they're available through through Atwood. But Last year, or over the years, we have actually tried to blow these out. Okay, you cannot blow them out. They need to have the RV potable antifreeze in the systems. Likewise, with the Nautilus, which is a new one that has just come out, this one here is by Suburban, it has to have the RV potable antifreeze in it. No bypass on the back, needs to have the antifreeze go through it. And I may be sounding somewhat redundant, but I want to make sure that everyone understands the Girard, the Dometic, and the Nautilus have to have RV potable antifreeze going through it. With that being said, you know, you should be safe as long as once you have that running through there, you go through and once again, please use this tool that's coming out, the refractometer, and check to see exactly how good you're good to. You know, whether it's light pink, dark pink, medium pink, we're not sure, you know, exactly what we're good to. So all you need to do is take this little, flip this up. There's a tester on the back side where you can actually pick up the RV antifreeze, and you put a dot on there. Flip this down, and then take this and look up at the light. On the inside, look at the scale all the way to the right. All the way to the right will say your burst point. It needs to be at 50 degrees, below zero. Thank you.